Hello everyone again, and thanks for joining. This is Pavel from Group IB, and today I will show you different cases related to an online fraud attack, especially I aim it on e-commerce companies. It can be betting companies, social networks, some sort of crypto funds, and many other e-commerce websites. So I think we are ready to start. Just keep in mind that all questions will be answered in the end of the webinar after the presentation. Use please questions sections for questions and chat just for any technical issues. For example, if you have issue with video or maybe with the sound, just type about it in the chat and my colleagues will help you with that. By the way, is it all okay with the sound? At least on our test environment, all looks very good. Yes, I have a few messages that all is okay. So let's start. Basically, maybe you know that a few months ago, many companies presented some statistics related to online fraud, and they predict big increase of this fraud in further years. For example, Uniper Research predict increase of general losses for online payment fraud more than 200 billions in next 4 years. And as you see, for the last 5 years, it increased for 72% in case of all cyber crimes to companies, and breaches related to leaks of credentials or cards or any other user IDs increased as well on 67%. So these reports are close, but we have some own statistics. We have some own cases related to online fraud because we provide anti-fraud solution to our client, especially to e-commerce companies, and we detect a lot of fraud related to different cases for online payment companies, for e-commerce and other type of any online businesses. So here we just have main vectors for e-commerce. First of all, it's of course bonus and miles fraud, card sniffing, cards cash out, scraping of media content, and different bot attacks related to brute force of web force, or it can be just simple spam attack on web form, betting manipulation, account boosting. And here we have only 3 tools and technologies that basically can be used to provide these attacks. Of course, bots can be used, social engineering techniques, and JS sniffers. Okay, right now let's take a look for each vector and see some examples. For bonus miles fraud, fraudster need to start with something. They can start social engineering attack on the users of popular e-commerce website or website of airlines, for example. It can be just simple phishing, or in last time it's very popular to use SMishing as well. So credentials will be compromised, then fraudster will use these credentials to get access to account through VPN or maybe through Tor browser, any kind of proxies, etc. And in the end, he can use these bonuses or miles, for example, to buy something, or sell these compromised accounts on the dark web forums. Also, he can transfer bonuses and miles to other accounts for selling as well. And one of the interesting cases is actually cash out miles via, for example, hotel booking. It's very simple when you just book hotel and then call a hotel and trying to get cash out on your credit card. So this is one of the good example how you can actually get money from miles. This is example on the dark web forum where somebody is trying to sell accounts for different e-commerce companies. You can see he's selling accounts for poker, betting accounts, casino, money bookers, PayPal, eBay, Amazon, and many others. So it works. Many accounts can be sold, especially with high volume of bonuses, miles, etc. One of the vector is, of course, card sniffers. When hackers just implement JavaScript sniffer on the web page of e-commerce websites, so it can be done via hacking of this website or with affecting of endpoint user device. As you see, we did a research a few months ago about this attack, and we found that many super popular e-commerce website was infected with JavaScript snippers. For example, one of them is British Airways, and potentially more than 300,000 cards was leaked to hackers. Interesting that these cards can be used somehow, and one of the popular method to cash out money from these cards is actually buy something on fraudulent e-markets. For example, I have compromised account. I need to, like hacker, yeah, of course, I need to steal this money somehow. And one of the good case that I can use is basically a shop in foreign markets or even in local markets as well. So I can just buy different stuff like clothes or different devices and then resell them, for example, on other local markets or just to use them as well. Here you can see also a screenshot from our threat intelligence system and some statistics related to compromised bank cards for last year, I mean this year. And you see that only for these 2 months, already 30 million accounts, credit cards, I mean, were compromised. With different techniques. So it was basically different leakage, not of course only JavaScript sniffers, it's also result of phishing activity and infected user devices as well. Scrapping can be a problem for e-commerce as well. So somebody can just steal media content from your website, different pictures, information about prices, and it can be a real problem for betting firms because information about rates from these betting firms can be used for fraud scheme related to botnet activity. Also, botnets can be used to spam different web forms. For example, they can send a lot of requests to spam your support department, and as a result, they have a lot of fakes requests related, for example, to credit form or any kind of service. And sometimes it's really problematically to detect real web form and fake form as well. So it will be many fake web forms and it can just spam your and stop basically all process in your support department. And also, fraudsters can use brute force techniques, for example, to try get information about bonuses on your websites as well. Account boost, also very popular fraud, which can be used to boost accounts on one platform. So we need just to create botnet with my own accounts and just share or sell something between these accounts to rank up these accounts. And then these accounts can be resold on dark web forums, or they can be used for further fraud. For example, I have an account with high rank on some kind of crypto fund, and I'm actually a trusted account, and I can use this trust to cheat other users, like get prepayments from other users in cryptocurrency and etc. So how we can actually detect these different cases related to fraud activity on e-commerce websites, and especially these tools and techniques that can be used. Like I said at the beginning, we have our own solution related to anti-fraud, which is secure portal for e-commerce, and also we have version for banks, which is secure bank, but this a little bit different solutions. Right now we are talking about only secure portal. It can be used for different reasons. One of them, of course, detecting fraud, but also it can be used for optimization and decreasing the number of false positive, for example, in case of web form spam, and optimization can be related to your support services. For example, it can be used as a second factor of authorization as well. And in this case, clients don't need to input, for example, information from SMS. It will be a passive authorization. Technologies that we use, most of them basically related to device fingerprinting, but we also use behavioral analysis of your keystroke, mouse movement, cross-channel analysis between different platforms, between iOS, for example, web platform, and Android, bot mitigation, global user profiling, which means that we can use information from one client to other client, compare this information about compromising devices, and predict some fraud from other clients. Client malware detection, so we can detect infected devices, especially it's related to Android and web. And of course, we have advanced rule engine, which can be used to create new rules, and our analytics support can support you with that. So they can help to create new rules to detect new fraud, maybe specific fraud for your portal. And I already said about adaptive authentication. So device fingerprinting can be used like a second factor or just additional factor for your authentication. Architecture. It's simple. We have JavaScript for web and mobile SDKs for Android and iOS. It's all connected with our backend, which can be cloud, it can be local cloud, or even we can create private cloud for you. We also have proxy server solution. In this case, we need to put the server in inline mode to get all the traffic from your website. But here we can actually detect shell bots and block these bots as well. A few words about device fingerprinting. So, of course, we detect common information about operation system, user agent, time zone, your IP. Also, we can sniff local IPs, information about installed and used plugins, language, and we're trying to get information about graphic card, media devices, DirectX. All this information will be correlated with our machine learning algorithms, and as a result, we have device fingerprinting, and that we can use to detect the difference between different devices, or say like is a fake device, or probably it can be real device, but for example, in one physical office. Bot mitigation. We can detect different bots, use different techniques. For example, one of the populist tools for optimization is Selenium. We can detect just with JavaScript, simple JavaScript, but with secure portal proxy, we can detect more, like shell bots, and it can be used as well to block these bots as well. Keystroke dynamics. So we build fingerprint for your keystroke, how you're typing, your mouse movement. Also, we're trying to collect information about all your clicks, used URLs, and as a result, we have fingerprint for users' behavior. One of the example how it actually happens. Here you can see that right now somebody's typing login and password, and we have here 2 different fingerprints for each of this field. And graph analysis, I have here video, but I suppose we can just do some live tests related to device fingerprinting. I think it can be very interesting. Just let me switch the screen here. So this is our graph tool where we can build different connections between different devices and see how it connected with login accounts, and also see maybe there is some fake devices or used VPNs and etc. So let's take a look. I have here a list of cases that we will use here. One of the simplest case, let me zoom in and I will show you. We have here one device, one real device. You can see also fingerprint of this device. That means this is a real device connected to one browser. This device used 3 different VPNs, and this device also was used to sign in this count of accounts. We have here more than 200 accounts. So somebody signed in 200 accounts for different reasons. For example, it can be just a multi-registration attack when somebody is trying to register many accounts and then sell them, or boost them between each other. Like you remember, one of the last case was account boosting. Or maybe he's just checking credentials of these compromised users and trying to steal bonuses, miles, or just money from these accounts. But anyway, it's absolutely abnormal when somebody is trying to sign in from one device in so many accounts. And second example can be more interesting. Let me choose the date as well. It's more interesting because you can see that we have one fingerprint for device. This is a device fingerprint, and this fingerprint connected with many fake devices. These blue icons is actually fake devices here, and you can see that from this fingerprint connection to fake device, and from fake device connection to account. So in this scheme, hackers try to say like, hey, I'm a different device. They can just use different browsers on the same device, or for example, incognito mode, to say to the website like different device and can I sign into this account? And they successfully signed in all these accounts, and basically they can do the same. So they can steal miles from these accounts. They can use them for account boosting and etc. However, in this case, they used only one VPN, which is suspicious, of course. And one more case. Yes, it's taken some time to build this graph, and you can see this actually is very huge. In this case, there was one physical device, but many different VPNs. This black icons is actually different IPs. So hacker used, in this case, he used different VPNs or proxy to sign in many different accounts. So this is the power of fingerprint. We can use this to detect different fake devices, to detect real devices, and connection between different accounts. Can help us to detect basically all the scheme related to fraud activity on e-commerce websites, especially to account takeover, account boosting, multi-registration, and other cases that you saw in the beginning of the presentation. Okay, I'm switching back to presentation, and it was the last slide of our presentation. And maybe, let me check, maybe we already have some questions. You also can ask some questions related to different types of frauds, or maybe different technologies that we use, or questions about Secure Portal as well. Okay, let's wait a few more minutes for questions. By the way, I suppose many of you are working in e-commerce, so maybe you have your own cases related to fraud and you are interested to detect it. So you also can ask about these new cases. Can, for example, we do it, or maybe how we can do it. Just a typical concept of detecting of the new fraud scheme. I see one questions. Can you share what device fingerprinting consists of? So, like I said in the presentation, we use different technologies. Yeah, of course, we also implement cookie in the session to web browser, but it's actually very simple to hijack from hacker side. You need just to open incognito mode. That's why we do fingerprint for graphic card. It includes the WebGL parameters, fingerprint for browser, information about the operating system, and connected media devices. Also, we use canvas fingerprint, and we analyze local IPs. If it's possible, like not in each browser, of course, it's possible to get all the information, but still we're trying to catch as much as we can from any type of browser. Is this solution only for e-commerce or for bank as well? No, it's not only for e-commerce. Like I said, we have secure portal for e-commerce and secure bank for banks. But for banks, of course, it's a little bit different story, and they have absolutely different use cases, different fraud. So secure bank can be used for banks as well. Device fingerprinting is basically the same, but cases and rules which will be implemented for bank is different. Okay, I don't see any new questions right now, so I suppose we can finish this webinar. Also, you can see some general contacts of Group IB, so feel free to ask any questions, or if you want to test our solution as well, it's possible. We have a website in the internet which can be tested from your devices, and you basically can see the result of your fingerprint and etc. Thank you all for joining, and hope you really enjoyed this webinar. Oh, also I see one more question. Will slide deck be shared afterwards? Yes, I suppose the presentation and the record of webinar will be shared after all. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining again, and it was nice to do this webinar for you. Goodbye.